On December 26, 1900, a relief ship approached the lighthouse on one of Scotland's most isolated islands. The crew expected 3 men to be waiting for them. Instead, there was no flag, no greeting, and no answer when the ship blasted its horn and fired a signal rocket. Inside the lighthouse, the beds were empty, the fire was cold, the clock had stopped. The lamp had been cleaned and prepared for the night, but the 3 lighthouse keepers had vanished. More than a century later, no body belonging to any of them has ever been found. This is the disappearance of the Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers. The lighthouse stood on Eilean Mor, the largest of the remote Flannan Isles off Scotland's west coast. The station had only been operating for about a year, and keeping its light burning required 3 men to remain on the island, while another rotated back to shore. In December of 1900, those men were Principal Keeper James Ducat, Second Assistant Thomas Marshall, and Donald McArthur, an experienced occasional keeper, filling in for a sick colleague. Their work followed a strict routine. They maintained the lamp, recorded the weather, cleaned the machinery, and prepared the station for every night. Then, sometime on December 15th, that routine abruptly ended. At around midnight, a passing steamer noticed that the lighthouse was dark. The observation was reported when the ship reached port, but the information did not reach the Northern Lighthouse Board in time to trigger an immediate response. For 11 days, the lighthouse remained silent. On December 26, the relief vessel Hesperus finally reached the island. Normally, the keepers would raise a flag and leave provision boxes ready near the landing. This time, there was nothing. Captain James Harvey sounded the ship's whistle and siren. He fired a rocket over the island. Still, nobody appeared. Relief keeper Joseph Moore was sent ashore alone. He climbed from the landing toward the lighthouse and found the entrance gate closed. The outer doors were also closed, although the kitchen door inside stood open. The fireplace had not been used for days. The beds were empty, and the station's clock had stopped. Moore later wrote that he immediately knew something serious had happened. He ran back toward the boat, then returned with other members of the crew to search the station. Upstairs, they found something even stranger. The lighthouse itself was ready to operate. The lamp had been cleaned, its fuel reservoir was full, the lens and machinery had been maintained. In the kitchen, the pots and pans had been washed, and everything had been tidied. This was not a station abandoned gradually. The men appeared to have completed their normal morning work and then left. The official logbook ended on December 13, but weather readings and other details from the morning of December 15 had been written on a slate, ready to be copied into the log. Investigators concluded that the men disappeared sometime that afternoon. A search of the entire island found no trace of them. But the west landing showed signs of enormous force. A wooden box that stored ropes and equipment had been ripped away. Iron railings were twisted and torn from their foundations. A large stone, weighing roughly a ton, had been moved onto a concrete path. Most disturbing of all, a life buoy had been torn from railings around 110 feet above sea level. The damage suggested that powerful water had reached far higher onto the island than anyone would normally expect. The clothing left behind offered another clue. Ducat and Marshall appeared to have taken their sea boots and waterproof clothing, the equipment they normally wore when going down toward a landing. MacArthur's usual coat was still inside. That suggested he may have rushed outside in his shirt sleeves. Lighthouse rules required someone to remain at the station. For all 3 men to leave, something urgent may have been happening below. The official investigator, Robert Muirhead, believed Ducat and Marshall had gone to the west landing to secure the rope box or inspect storm damage. MacArthur may have remained behind at first. Then he could have seen an enormous wave approaching, or realized the other men were in danger, and rushed outside to warn or help them. Muirhead's conclusion was that an unexpectedly large roller struck the island and swept all 3 men into the the sea. It is a believable explanation, but it remains only an explanation. No one witnessed the accident, no bodies were recovered, and nothing proves exactly why all three experienced keepers went outside together. Over time, the story became even stranger, but many of its most famous details were added later. You may have heard that investigators found an untouched meal on the table and an overturned chair, as though the men had suddenly jumped up and fled. Those details do not appear in the original reports. You may also have heard about bizarre final log entries describing one keeper crying, the men praying, and the words, "God is over all." There is no evidence those entries ever existed. The genuine account is less theatrical, but in some ways, more unsettling. Three capable men finished their work on a remote island. Something drew all of them toward the same dangerous landing. The sea left behind enough destruction to suggest what may have happened, but not enough evidence to prove it. Official records listed their deaths as probably caused by drowning. James Ducat left behind a wife and 4 children. Donald McArthur left a wife and 2 children. Thomas Marshall's family also waited for an explanation that never came. The lighthouse continued operating and was eventually automated, but the final moments of its 3 keepers disappeared with them. And more than 125 years later, the Flannan Isles still refused to give them back.